This is Dr. Gilbert Buford's answering service. How may I help you?
I need to talk to Dr. Buford. Could you maybe give me a number where I can reach him?
No, ma'am, I cannot. Is this an emergency?
Sort of. I mean, it's not a medical emergency. I'm only going to be in town for a short time, and Dr. Buford and I have this mutual friend who died recently, and I just really need to talk to him about it.
Need some consoling, huh?
Yes, I need some consoling. That's it exactly.
Well, tell you what. It's against the rules to give you his phone number, but I can tell you that now that he's all but retired, Dr. Buford spends most of his evenings at his favorite gumbo stand down in the French Quarter. If you really need to talk to him, you can probably find him there.
Great. Do you know the address?
It's at the corner of Rampart and Domain.
Did you say Rampart and Domain?
I did indeed. Granny Pumpkin's Cajun Cooking. They make some darn fine gumbo.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, and I'm truly sorry about your loss.
My loss?
That mutual friend of yours and Dr. Buford's?
Oh, right. Thank you. That's very kind of you. Bye.
Hello?
Hi, Bess. It's me.
So what's been happening? Tell me everything.
Well, let's see. Since the last time we talked, I was just about getting ready to...
Interesting stuff.
But the reason I called is I need you to talk to this doctor named Gilbert Buford, who, as it turns out, likes to hang out at a gumbo stand called Granny Pumpkin's Cajun Cooking, which should be right across from our hotel.
You just want me to talk to him? That's it? Nothing nefarious? No black ops stuff?
He was Bruno Bolet's doctor, and apparently his best friend, too. I just need for you to see if he thinks there was anything weird about the way Bruno died.
What do you mean by weird?
I mean, I kind of think maybe Bruno was murdered.
Murdered? By whom?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. Everyone's a suspect at this point.
Including this Gilbert Buford guy?
Well...
Great, I'm going to be chatting up Jack the Ripper.
Oh, I'm sure the guy's fine, but be subtle, just in case.
Well, I can see the gumbo stand from our balcony. If he's the guy that's sitting down there, I guess he looks harmless. Okay, I'll go talk to him.
Thanks, Bess. Let me know what happens.
Cheerio.
Why, hello, young lady. How kind of you to grace an old man with your lovely presence.
My name's Bess Marvin. I'm looking for Dr. Gilbert Buford.
Well, it's a pleasure to report that I am he.
Do you mind if I join you?
Of course not. A little lively discourse would brighten this gloomy evening considerably. This here is my favorite spot in the whole city. Delicious gumbo, pleasing view, particularly now, I might add.
I'd like to ask you some questions about Bruno Bolet, if that's okay.
I'd prefer subject matter of a happier nature, but I do not want to seem inhospitable, so what is it you want to know?
Is there any doubt in your mind as to how Dr. Bolet died?
He died of a myocardial infarction, most likely caused by age-related atherosclerosis. Dying of a heart attack is all too common for people who are socially isolated, and Bruno Bolet had most certainly become that.
He was hard to get along with?
Fact is, while socializing with my fellow man, particularly with pretty young women such as yourself, has always been a source of pleasure for me, Bruno was just the opposite. Unfortunately, the older he got, the more numerous his idiosyncrasies became, and the less concern about their negative effect upon others he became.
Did they do an autopsy on Dr. Bolet?
No. Given Bruno's advanced age and the absence of any indication of foul play, an autopsy was deemed unnecessary, and the body was cremated according to Bruno's wishes.
Did Dr. Bolet ever say anything to you about owning a crystal skull?
Why, yes. Yes, he did. In fact, he showed it to me once. Said it had magical powers. Said owning it was going to allow him to live forever. I thought it was utter nonsense and told him so. Well, he didn't appreciate that at all. Refused to talk to me for a full 2 weeks.
What'd the skull look like?
It was quite beautiful, actually. Life-size, perfect in form and clarity, like a diamond almost. Tell me, Miss Bess, what do you know about that crystal skull?
This friend of mine, who is also a friend of Henry Boulay, Dr. Boulay's great-nephew. Anyway, while she was visiting Henry, she saw this book in Bruno's library about the legendary crystal skulls and was kind of intrigued and thought that since Henry said that you were pretty much Bruno's only friend, maybe Bruno had said something to you about it, and as it turns out, he had. That's all I know.
I see. Well, much as I'd like to believe that skull holds the key to immortality, I'm afraid Bruno's passing proves it's worthless. Although it would make an attractive paperweight, as I recall. Tell your friend not to give it another thought.
Dr. Boulay's housekeeper says you just happened to walk in just as he was having his heart attack. Is that true?
Indeed it is. I hadn't seen him for a while, so I picked that day to pay him a visit. I walked up to the front door, found it unlocked as usual, opened it, and there he was, lying on the floor in obvious distress. The next thing I know, his housekeeper came running in and started shrieking and carrying on, until finally I sent her out of the room so she could summon an ambulance, and I could once again hear myself think. Then I knelt down and saw that he wasn't breathing, so I pulled him away from the doorway so I'd have more room to work on him, and began chest compressions. I continued until the medics arrived, but nothing they did made a difference either.
Was Dr. Boulay unconscious the whole time?
Yes, he was.
Can you remember anything that might indicate what he was doing by the front door? I mean, had he just come in from a walk? Was he wearing a hat? Was he holding anything? Had he dropped something? An umbrella? Sunglasses?
Wait a minute. Why, yes, he was holding something. A piece of paper. And on the floor next to him was an envelope. He must have collapsed while reading a letter.
Do you know what happened to it?
Now, I know the letter was no longer in Bruno's hand when the paramedics arrived, so perhaps he released the letter when I moved him. And yet, I do not recall seeing it on the floor when they wheeled him out the door. Iggy.
What's Icky?
Iggy. Iggy is an iguana Bruno befriended, then turned loose in his home. It soon developed the annoying habit of stealing paper and stockpiling it in the vent system.
Are you saying an iguana made off with the letter Bruno had been reading?
It would not have been the first time a missing document ended up in Iggy's possession. Renee would periodically call me saying the lizard had absconded with one of Bruno's prescriptions and would I please write her up a replacement. In any case, Bruno once told me he was training Iggy. Said he taught Iggy to retrieve the things it had stolen.
Do you think it's possible that Renee caused Dr. Boulay's death by, say, hoarding the pills from those missing prescriptions and giving them to him all at once?
No. Had he died of an overdose of the medications I had prescribed, the manner of his death would have been quite different. But he died of a heart attack. Of that I am certain. However, I know for a fact that Renee is deeply involved in the practice of hoodoo. And as Bruno's housekeeper, she had ample opportunity to use it against my poor old friend.
You mean hoodoo really works?
Young lady, never, ever underestimate the power of suggestion. If a person believes in something, even on a subconscious level, fantasy can easily become fact. And who knows what rubbish Renee filled Bruno's mind with? Drink this, don't eat that. This brings good luck, that brings bad, day in and day out. Even if he said he didn't believe a word of it, who knows how much his subconscious was absorbing? He was very old and vulnerable. So could Renee have caused Bruno to have that fatal heart attack? There's not a doubt in my mind she could indeed.
Thanks for your time.